Gears, transmissions, engines is what every Technic builder dreams about when they go to sleep. Don't lie to me, I know exactly what you've been doing when you sleep. You've been dreaming about that new McLaren, 7 speeds, V8 engine, perfect gears, amazing panels, gorgeous wheels, and it keeps getting better and better until you wake up and you realize you're broke. You ain't got no money, you only got like the pullback cars. Well, today I'm here to tell you the 10 best LEGO Technic Supercars you need to dream about instead of just the McLaren. Off-roaders are excluded, let's get right into it. Here we have the 1988 test car, which was the third generation car chassis and significantly improved over its previous counterparts in many ways. It was the first LEGO car with fully independent suspension on all 4 wheels, meaning that it was the first ever Technic vehicle to offer suspension on a steered axle. It would utilize several brand new pieces to achieve this. Speaking of steering, it was based on the Ackerman principle, meaning the inner wheel would turn more sharply than the outer one, exactly how real cars do to maintain traction. It was also the last set to use the square piston engine blocks, since they would later be replaced by the modern round ones. We haven't even scratched the surface of some of its features, such as the pop-up headlights. Because the set was released well before the introduction of modern driving rings, the gearbox was actually completely different from what you're used to. The 3 speeds were achieved by a series of sliding gears. This type of transmission is much easier to understand, since the travel path of the motion is much more obvious and you can actually follow it, unlike the mess that occurs with driving rings. The car is truly a legend from a completely different era of Technic, and the next one is even crazier. The LEGO Technic 8458 Silver Champion was truly a revolutionary set. Although it did not have a transmission, it was a massive step for Technic, representing a lot of things achieved for the first time. For example, it was physically the largest model at the time, and it broke the record of having more than 1,400 pieces. Such a large model truly tested the building techniques possible with the Technic system. As a result of all the complex building, this model is difficult to disassemble due to many of the steps not being easily reversible. The engine is V10, utilizing clear engine block pieces. The engine configuration is consistent with Formula 1 rules of the time if you ignore the displacement. The engine crankshaft is offset by half a stud from the center, resulting in the pistons having a stroke of 1 stud. The detail is absolutely incredible too, featuring 10 pipes, each for its own cylinder. The real innovation with this model is the suspension. Although previous models did feature double wishbone suspension, this is the first model to use a real airfoil-shaped wishbone and push rods. The push rod allows the springs to be located inside the body, basically to minimize wind resistance drag. Such a complex and accurate suspension had never been done before in Technic. The only things missing were the caster as well as kingpin inclination. Not Heisenberg, but it refers to the inward tilt of the steering axle, which essentially results in steering benefits. Next up is the Top Gear rally car released in 2020. Although this car isn't exactly the most well-received set in Technic, in fact, many consider it to be among the worst, I think it has some revolutionary features that changed Technic forever. Mainly, the introduction of the heavy-duty differential. Rather than using 3 bevel gears inside the casing, it uses 5. Furthermore, the case can work with multiple different gears, allowing you to make even stronger differentials if you wanted to. This was by far the cheapest way to get the powered-up XL motor. Real shame that the XL motor was discontinued. It also used a large motor for the steering. This was among the best ways to get essential powered-up components in a cheap way. But unbrick me, didn't you say the set was disliked by Technic fans? What's the issue? I'm glad you asked. It basically comes down to the controls. First of all, it accelerated very slowly. It's because there was a software-based gearbox that would have a first, second, and third speed. The problem is that it is completely software-based. It's not like there's an actual transmission inside the car. The software deliberately makes it accelerate slower than what the motor is capable of. Furthermore, this set had a massive right-turning tendency, the opposite of Cessna's left-turning tendencies. This was likely caused by the off-centered differential on the rear axle. The thing is, a right-turning tendency can be easily fixed by software. You just add steering steering trim buttons, and you are able to counter this tendency, making the model go straight. Instead of a fake gearbox, in my opinion, there should have been trim buttons, since they are very easy to just custom make within the Powered Up app. Speaking of customization, that's another big reason why the set was received so poorly, since at the time you could not make custom control profiles within the Powered Up app, and you were stuck to using either the exact Control Plus configuration or a generic, non-customizable interface within the Powered Up app, severely limiting your customization ability. The LEGO Technic Power Puller 8457 was truly a one-of-a-kind set. It featured some truly creative and unique engineering solutions. It included multiple types of piston engine layouts, each one fascinating in its own way. There's 3 recommended engine configurations, but with mixing and matching them, you could easily have 6-7 of them.
Around 6-7! 6-7!
But the most impressive mechanism has to be the following, which is incredibly original and something you never see in a LEGO Technic model. The build came with a 9-volt battery box and a motor, paired with a very clever motion system. When the battery box was switched on, it would slide along a set of rails, pushing the car forward until the box reached the end. It's an ingenious concept and executed in a very distinctive way. The instruction manual was designed to introduce builders to the concept of gear ratios. LEGO even included a few extra gears so you could experiment by swapping them out and observing how the performance changed. Here, you see an example showing how different gear combinations can make the model either faster or more powerful. The top diagram uses an 8-tooth gear paired with a 24-tooth gear, which works perfectly. The bottom diagram, however, shows 2 20-tooth gears, which actually would not fit together in this setup. Thankfully, the real instructions are accurate and avoid this mistake. LEGO needs more sets like this, ones that encourage simple modifications and hands-on learning. It's a fun and practical way to understand gear ratios, making the whole build surprisingly educational. Fun fact, this is actually based on a real-life vehicle which LEGO Technic sponsored. The set came with a VHS tape containing footage of the real Power Puller racing. Not a single other Technic set came with a VHS tape. Let me know if you've still got a functional tape player in the comments below. The A80 Supercar of 2011 is a perfect example of exactly how modern Technic cars should be done. It contained a gearbox, not the boring transmission you're thinking of. Instead, it had a distribution gearbox to allow a single motor to control 4 different functions: the motorized openable hood, deployable spoiler, as well as opening the left and right doors. Unlike a typical transmission, where you are barely able to tell the difference in the speed of the engine, in this one you can instantly tell how a single motor can drive multiple different things depending on how you select the gearbox. It had a gorgeous V8 engine and it was truly an incredible supercar. Instead of getting something like the Lamborghini Revolto, which has 0 interesting mechanisms, we could easily get something similar to the much more mechanically interesting 2011 supercar. Plus, here is something you have never thought about with this supercar.
And it had a B model.
That is true, it had a B model. The B model was the following legendary roadster hot rod. It was basically a convertible, and the function to put the roof over the cabin was motorized. Also had 2 motorized, beautifully opening doors. The motor could control both functions with a gearbox similar to the main model. I love the gorgeous design and the exposed engine. To be honest, I will probably buy a second copy of the 8070 just for the B model. The 2013 Grand Prix Racer is truly a unique set. It comes with a 2-function distribution gearbox instead of a transmission. You can rotate the knob to either open the engine cover or deploy the rear spoiler. I feel like if this car were made today, both of these functions would have their own separate knobs. Anyway, since there is only a single axle that can control both functions, that meant this set included official instructions on how to motorize it using the Power Functions accessory box. All you needed is a single motor and a battery box in order to make those 2 functions I mentioned earlier motorized. On top of that, it's got fully independent suspension using a very authentic pushrod setup, just like what you'd see in a real Formula 1 car, a hand-of-God steering knob which connects to the yoke, as well as a V8 piston engine. It was not the most complex set, but everything it did it right. The alternate B model was truly exceptional as well. It looks gorgeous and had all the same functions as the original main model, which is truly impressive considering it's just an alternate build. It still had the distribution gearbox, which would either adjust the spoiler or raise the engine cover. Just like the main model, it also featured a gorgeous V8 engine. The suspension mechanism is different though, obviously, since it is not a Formula 1 racer which requires pushrod suspension. The only thing missing from this B model is motor upgradability, but considering it already includes a distribution gearbox rather than separate knobs for each individual function, I'm sure it's a very easy modification of just attaching a motor to the gearbox axle and finding space for the battery box. The 24 Hours race car of 2015 is a much better set than the Peugeot. Unlike the Peugeot, it actually came with a two-function distribution gearbox. The first gearbox function is the openable doors, which was activated by spinning a gear knob. The doors are hard-coupled, so you'd always open both. The second gearbox function is opening the engine cover. The whole piece is absolutely massive. It truly feels like you're moving something large when operating this function. Of course, we also have a directly driven V8 piston engine. This type of car was brand new to LEGO Technic, along with its bright green color. The rear looks truly incredible, especially with those exhausts. The engine has cool tube detailing, and the front looks incredible too. A point of controversy are the headlights, but personally, I love them. Since the set uses a gearbox to control its two main functions instead of a separate knob for each individual function, as you have probably guessed, you can actually upgrade this car using the Power Functions accessory box. You will use the battery box, a motor, two gears, and even lights. That's right, you actually add working functional headlights in this mod, which is awesome. After the mod is complete, the two gearbox functions are driven by the motor rather than manually through the gear knob. The B model is an exceptionally cool SUV racer. Just like the main model, it also includes a gearbox, allowing you to control either the front bumper or opening the rear trunk just using a single gear knob, though unfortunately, the B model is not motor upgradable. The LEGO Technic Too Fast, Too Furious Nissan Skyline GTR R34 is easily one of the most entertaining builds from the 2025 lineup. At first glance, it may seem just like another Technic car, but once you start playing with it, you realize it hides a brilliant surprise. You can roll it around normally, but flipping the switch on the back activates a special gearbox and lowers a pair of caster wheels. This setup allows the front wheels to power the rear ones at a much higher speed using multiple 20 and 12-tooth gears. With the rear slightly lifted and supported by the caster wheels, the car can glide sideways and perform smooth drift-style motions, something incredibly unique to any Technic model. Under the hood, there is a detailed inline 6-cylinder engine connected to the drivetrain. In regular mode, only the front wheels are linked to the engine, leaving the rear wheels free. But once you engage the gearbox, all four wheels are driven, and thanks to the gear ratios, the rear wheels spin dramatically faster. LEGO also included a linear clutch in the build, but it doesn't actually do anything in this setup. Honestly, it feels pointless, and I'll probably swap it out for a basic axle connector since the clutch doesn't serve any real purpose here. This car's gearbox is exactly the kind I want to see from future cars. Advanced transmissions are cool, but for cheaper models, instead of having the gearbox slightly change the speed of the engine, it should come with some sort of playability. I personally wish that distribution gearboxes in cars with motorization, like what we saw in the 2011 Supercar, would make a comeback. I think it is the best type of gearbox in cars, and the second best is definitely the drifting feature. The LEGO Technic Porsche 911 GT3 RS was a groundbreaking set, being the first in the Technic Ultimate Collector series. At the time, we did not yet have the orange rotary catch piece introduced in the Bugatti Chiron, and yet despite that, it introduced a 4-speed sequential transmission for the first time in the history of Technic. It used a very clever mechanism to make the gearbox levers shift the gearbox in a sequential manner. Interestingly, if you build it exactly as in the instructions, the speeds would be out of order. The gearbox would go first, third, second, and fourth. This is incredibly easy to fix though, since you simply have to swap the red and green pairs of gears shown here, and then it works just like a normal sequential transmission in the proper order. Although this seems like an error in the instructions, LEGO has actually stated that, supposedly, the wrong order in the transmission made the gearbox run smoother. Personally, from testing, I have found zero difference, so I strongly recommend doing the gearbox mod on your set. The GT3 RS truly looks gorgeous. Although it is not the most advanced set ever made, I think it is my favorite modern Technic supercar. I mean, it looks incredible from every angle, whether it's the headlights, the rear, the brakes, anything. Finally, at number 1, we have the 880 of 1994, which is the best Technic supercar ever made. It is truly the pinnacle of Technic engineering. No other car even comes close. Every single wheel is suspended with 2 shock absorbers, making for a total of 8 of them. Each one is also driven and steered. That's right, it actually had 4-wheel steering, along with double wishbone independent suspension on all 4 wheels. There's 3 differentials, a front, rear, and central differential. Most importantly, Importantly, it contained a 4-speed synchronized transmission, introducing those driving rings for the first time in the history of Technic. The transmission plate piece is unique to the set, making it incredibly rare. In fact, a new copy of this piece goes for over $65 on Bricklink. The gearbox connects to the V8 reciprocating engine. The drivetrain is insanely complex. Just look at all those gears, and it even used a chain to connect the engine to the drivetrain. Also, because it had 4 wheels driven, suspended, and steered, it required some custom solutions. The hub surrounding the gear is brand new to the set, and because the gear and its teeth are spherical, the hub can rotate up and down as the suspension moves and side to side as the steering moves, all while maintaining perfect connection to the axle. It is truly a genius design. Modern Technic Supercars do not have 3 differentials, nor 4-wheel steering, partly because they try to copy the real-life version of the car. But you see what happens when you make an original? Not a single function is compromised. The Technic model ends up being a true marvel of engineering, with brand new solutions created for some insane new functions. I haven't even scratched the surface of some of its functions, such as the pop-up headlights. I personally have this set in my possession, and I will be doing a full detailed building review racing brick style, so stay tuned for that. If you are interested in learning the 10 hardest to build Technic functions, then click on the video in the top left corner. This is your Unbrick Me here, and I'll see you in the next one.